Okay, could everyone take their seats? We're going to get started. And you touch base with the speakers. Yeah. You touch base with all the speakers. Okay. Great. Okay, great. Thank you, and welcome to our last Procurement Council meeting of 2015. Before we get started, I would like to welcome a new member from the nominated from the Assembly Minority Leader Brian Colby. I'd like to introduce Sonia Lindell. She's over here on my left. She's a manager of government affairs for the Business Council of the State of New York. Sonia specializes in education and contract procurement issues. And please join me in welcoming Sonia to the Procurement Council. So with every hail, it seems like we have a farewell. So today I would like to recognize someone who said she's retiring, but we're not really letting her retire, and that would be Ann Phillips. So Ann has been a member of the Procurement Council. I won't count Ann, I'll just say for many years. And Ann's contributions, I would say, to state legislation and also to procurement have been, outstanding. So Ann is retiring in December, end of December, but maybe around here and there part-time. So Ann, from myself and the rest of the Procurement Council, I'd like to present you with a nice picture of the plaza. And I don't know if you can see your office or not.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed working with all of you as part of this council and as part of our various adventures in procurement. And it's been a wonderful
There you go.
couple of decades, but I'm also looking forward to my next life after in retirement. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Ann, and congratulations. You will be missed. So, on now to the approval of meeting minutes from September 10th. Are there any discussion? May I have a motion to... Oh, I'm sorry, Tom. Go ahead. Yeah, I don't think the mics are on.
I don't know if it makes a difference, but it says that I was at the meeting. I was not. I was represented by Michelle Feathers. So you can
Okay, we'll make that adjustment.
I don't know if it's necessary.
Okay.
I just want to comment. I had asked a question and I thought it was a nice feature that
I need some microphone.
They're waving. You need to turn it on. Sorry. It's the black one at the top. There we go.
No, I just had one comment, and I had asked a question and thought it was a nice feature that was described, but it's not in the minutes in terms of accommodating regional approvals for various vendors. So I'm just wondering if that could be added to the minutes.
Yes, we can certainly add it. So, Sarah, he would like to add what he commented in the last meeting, so maybe if you could touch base with Ron afterwards and we'll capture it.
Okay, thank you.
You just want me to hold it off till next time then? So we'll make those adjustments and we'll move the meeting approval till the next meeting. How's that sound? Okay, thank you. Next, Ann.
Wanted to bring to your attention, OGS is presenting 2 departmental bills for extensions of procurement-related legislation. The first one is extending 139J and K of procurement lobbying law. Currently, it's scheduled to expire on July 31st, 2016. OGS has put forth a departmental bill which would ask for a 5-year extender. This law relates to restrictions on communications during the procurement process. We anticipate potential further discussion as the budget and legislative session go on with respect to possible improvements to 139 and K. In particular, we know that the beginning of a restricted period is not as well defined in the law as we might want to have it. and that is an area for possible future discussion, but the departmental bill right now is a pure extender for that one. The other one, which is very relevant to the council, is 163 of the state finance law, is the nuts and bolts of how to do public procurement. It is currently scheduled to expire on June 30th, 2016. It has, it was enacted in 1995, and it has had always a sunset date associated with it. We have chosen in the OGS departmental bill to ask for a continuation for an additional 5 years. This is the heart of the Procurement Stewardship Act and is very necessary for the conduct of public procurement in the state. As such, we also expect that there may be some discussion and negotiations on possible additions to the Procurement Stewardship Act, which we would welcome having those open discussions over the course of budget making and the legislative session, and of course would bring those discussions and issues back to the Procurement Council at the next meeting, which will occur after the beginning of the session. What I'd like today to know from the Procurement Council is whether they're in favor of the extension of both of these statutes. What I'd ask for is a show of hands of anybody who would approve the extensions of these statutes. Anyone oppose it? Anyone abstain? Thank you for your support. I will note that as we continue the discussions regarding these, both of these very important laws. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ann. Next, Tom Hipchin from SUNY on the statewide training initiative update.
Thank you, Susan. The committee, which comprised representatives from OGS, OSC, CUNY, and SUNY, have been meeting over since late spring. We've tried to meet bi-monthly, but schedules have not allowed that. Initially, our discussion has been focused on a variety of topics, including a compilation of existing training materials throughout the state and creating a block foundation of training of courses. However, we realize that we need more feedback from the state at our stakeholders to help us make better decisions. So as a result, we've created a survey, which you should have a copy of, to learn more about the potential audience of people that we're training, current training programs and resources, as well as what agencies are identifying as their most pressing training needs. OSC mailed out on our behalf, emailed out a survey to over 200 state agency financial officers on Friday the 13th. Hopefully that's not a bad omen. Decentralized agencies such as SUNY and OPWDD have been asked to try to consolidate into one their responses. And the responses are due Monday the 23rd of November, prior to the holiday, and we hope that the responses will allow us to track and to follow up and analyze the responses that we receive from folks to better determine our next steps. So, any questions about the survey? Just encourage you, if you have not received it, let me know, and or you can check with people in your agency. It could have gone, I think OSC did a good job of stripping out duplications, but it could have maybe not gone to the right person. So please just check within your agency.
Thanks, Tom. And next, I'd like to invite as our first speaker, Laurel Nittinger from OSC to talk about the fall conference in December. I'm not sure if that mic's on, so you may have to check it. There you go. go.
I think you can hear me now.
Yep.
I don't know if you can see me. I should have brought some phone books to stand on. But good morning. Thank you for having me today. As you know, I'm Laurel Nittinger. I'm from the Office of the State Comptroller, Office of Operations, and my team coordinates the annual OSC Fall Conference. And while it's one of the craziest times of year for us, it's also one of the most fun and rewarding because the conference offers a range of procurement and other financial operations topics. And the feedback we receive on all of our topics is consistently good, which gives our office a really great feeling. This year's event will be December 8th and 9th right here at the Empire State Plaza in meeting rooms 1 through 7, and there's no charge to attend. Our office invites all state agency fiscal and payroll officers. However, we've also recently implemented a new method of distribution that allows anyone within your agencies to subscribe to our mailing list if they'd like to receive financial advisories and/or fall conference notices from our office. And I believe you've all gotten the handouts in your folders, and there were some at the door that tells you how to get on that list. We usually get a turnout of about 1,000 state agency staff, and we always welcome partners from OGS, SFS, BSC, any other agency who would like to partner with our staff to present on topics of interest. So if you have any interest in participating at future events, please reach out to our office and let us know. We'd be happy to have you. On the handouts, you'll see a course listing of all that we're offering at this year's event. And I've also included website navigation so you can get to the fall conference information on our site, which includes detailed course listings, a schedule, and registration information. I've also included a link to the mailing list that I mentioned if you or any of your state agency staff would like to start receiving financial advisories from our office or sign up to receive fall conference notices. Lastly, you'll find email addresses to contact our agency. We're always happy to help answer your questions. If you have specific training needs, we can forward those to the proper bureaus within our office. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us if there's anything we can do to help. As I mentioned, Fall Conference is a great networking opportunity, a great training opportunity, so we really hope to see you and your staff members there. December 8th and 9th. November 27th is when registration closes. You have through November 27th. Seats are filling up quickly, so if you are interested in attending, please get on our website and secure your seat. Are there any questions? Charlotte, if you have anything to add, Charlotte's group offers lots of the courses we provide. All right, well, thank you for having me.
Great, thanks, Laurel. Next, we have Mark Kleinhans. Will give us an update on the IT suite of contracts we've been working on.
I think I can skip the phone books. I'm here, I am Mark Kleinhans, and I'm here to update you on the new technology contract suite.
Can you pull the mic up a little? Oh, sorry, you're tall. So.
Better? Okay. There are 3 components to our suite. We have project-based consulting, the manufacturers-based umbrella contract, and the distributor-based umbrella contract. These 3 contracts have some common themes throughout: mandatory competition, standardized terms and conditions for all vendors regardless of size, standardized forms for both the procurement to send out and for vendors to send in response to our solicitations, and training for authorized users and for the vendor population. The project-based contract is consulting only, no products. It is a deliverable-based project format, so there is no time and materials work on this. It is just strictly deliverable-based. Up to 36 months in duration with no extensions, no amendments. There are 3 lots. Lot 1 is $0 to $200,000, and it is open only to MWBEs and SBs. Lot 2, $200,000 to $7.5 million, and Lot 3, $7.5 million to $25 million. This contract is currently up. We have 31 contracts awarded in Lot 1. 24 of those are MWBEs. We have 51 contracts awarded in Lot 2. 19 are MWBEs. 13 in Lot 3. 2 of those are MWBEs. We continue to award contracts on a daily basis. We are now scheduling training with both agencies and with our localities. We're getting training out as quickly as possible. So it will be coming to a site near you soon. Vendor training will follow as soon as we get some of our agencies down and get our training plan a little more fleshed out. A few pieces of advice for using project-based. The payments are only made once an authorized user has approved a deliverable. So they really have to work very closely with the vendors to understand what the deliverable has to look like. It has to be crystal clear when you're going into this arrangement what each one of those deliverables will look like and what you will approve, because that's what the payment is based on. We're really looking at these as a project, or these projects as a team approach. They're going to have heavy involvement from the technology, the procurement, and the project management side to keep them on track, because there is very little room for project enhancement in these, and there is no hourly based. It is really very important that you get the project management group in here to keep these projects on track and to get deliverables signed off as soon as possible. The manufacturer-based contract is intended to replace many of the current OGS technology contracts. We have 4 lots: software, hardware, cloud, and implementation. We can add future lots through periodic recruitment. We intend that vendors who apply to a specific lot will put their entire catalog of offerings within that lot. So the hardware lot, they'll put in their whole hardware catalog, everything they can sell, so they can provide full solutions to our customers. We have included in this an implementation lot, much like the project-based contract. Full implementation packages up to 36 months. There's no dollar restriction or percentage restriction on those, but it is limited to 36 months, no extension, no amendment. I'd love to say those ones are on the street right now. They're not yet. Soon, very soon, we'll start sending contracts out for signature. Right now, we have a number of tentative awards out there. We're coming really close on this one. As soon as we get contracts on the street, signed and up on for use, we'll begin training packages for that as well. Again, we'll start with our authorized users and move on to our vendors as quickly as possible. With the manufacturer contract, because the scope is so large and so wide, we want to make sure authorized users are reminded of state finance law to aggregate their purchases. This is not only aggregating a specific type of hardware, but aggregating into that mix your maintenance, your training, your installation services, whatever services you need to stand that product up, get them in the initial solicitation. You can do a single RFQ across multiple lots. You can do a lot with this contract. It's very, very flexible. So we really want to make sure people build a package that's going to be procured. That way you get the best price and you can do it in a single transaction. Again, the installation or the implementation lot on this is deliverable based only. So you really need that full suite of project management, technology, and procurement in the room at the same time, developing these scope of works to make it functional and make it work long term. We do have cloud in this contract. This is the first time we've intentionally put cloud on a state centralized contract. So we have a couple specific pieces of advice. For non-state agencies or state agencies that aren't represented by ITS, we're suggesting you strongly look at a cybersecurity insurance policy. They're becoming fairly common for agencies or users that go into the cloud. Each one of your transactions is going to be different. It's going to have a different risk. We can't really insure everyone in the state. We can't make sure that a centralized contract fits your needs. You have to look at the risk. You have to do a data categorization to understand the data you're putting out there and the risk that that data poses to your agency. So you'll have specific risks, and that's one way to mitigate those risks, to understand what you're putting out there and to understand the danger of putting it out there. That insurance policy will help you in case there is a breach. The other piece we're suggesting is before you go out and put something in the cloud, that you build a data or a risk mitigation plan or a breach mitigation plan. What happens? We've all seen the articles in the paper, OPM, Target, breaches happen. What happens when it happens? You should have a book on your shelf you can pull out and say, oh my God, there's been a breach, what do we do? There's a book with all your instructions. Rather than trying to think through these things in a crisis moment, have a plan developed. The last piece in this suite is the distributor-based umbrella contract. We're still working on this. I had meetings on it this morning trying to flesh out exactly what we're going to put into it. We know right now it will be 2 lots, hardware and software. We know that it will be something like the current miscellaneous software contract. We will have 3 to 5 distributors for each lot. You will have to RFQ to each product that you want to put out, and your bidders will return a dollar figure for what you're looking to purchase. So there is going to be a mandatory competition built into that contract, just like the miscellaneous software contract today. There will be still restrictions on installation or services, just like there is with the miscellaneous software today. So we haven't really discussed exactly the 80-20 rule, but something close to it. We'll have that applied. The intent of this contract is for you to buy bits and pieces, not to buy full solutions. That would be the manufacturer's umbrella contract. One nice piece of this is there are a number of vendors that have not been able to meet the thresholds for the manufacturer's umbrella. We set them fairly high. We wanted to make sure we had a good, robust collection of vendors on the manufacturer's umbrella. Through the distributor-based umbrella, they can build those sales up to a point where those sales can be used on a periodic recruitment to apply to the manufacturer's umbrella. So there is a escalator, an incubator concept built into the distributor-based contract. It will help you meet those goals in the future. And that's it. Is there any questions I can answer for anyone?
You mentioned that some of the contracts will be rolling out.
Sorry, we're getting waved at, so we need to.
Is this on now? Okay. You mentioned there's a timeline for the rollout of the contracts. What's a typical timeline, and has the new process you're looking at decreased the time from evaluation to award and then distribution of the contract?
As a single transaction, so for an authorized user, they will be able to get the products they need very quickly, especially project-based services up to $25 million. That would be a full RFP, so that would be a 2-year process. Through project-based, I would still expect an agency to do everything they would normally do to prepare for an RFP, so they would still do the same amount of study, they would still do the same amount of thought going into this contract, but the procurement process itself will be a lot faster. So I would say it should probably shave off a good 6 months, if not more. But because it is a procurement and because it is a deliverable-based project procurement, you need to put the same process and same thought into it as you would an RFP. It's just happening a lot faster, so you have to be careful. Also, because there's so little enhancement or change order budget built into this, you really have to know what you're buying up front. One of the pieces built into this is you're going to get exactly what you ask for. And that's a blessing and a curse. So that's pretty much it. And you're going to have to sign off on each one of your deliverables along the way, making sure that you get exactly what you paid for. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Oh, over here.
When do you plan on having a schedule for training state agencies? Is that?
We're starting with, the first agency is, well, we had a short training with ITS last week. Last week, 2 weeks ago. We are scheduling another training shortly, probably next week. I think that one's full. We'll be scheduling in the next couple months. I believe the plan is 2 to 4 a month for the foreseeable future. So I don't know when we're going to get to OMH, but pretty quickly.
Okay, and then on the one category where you're saying that it's restricted to MWBEs and small businesses, is there also a designation for service-disabled veterans in that grouping, or no?
That group, that contract went through prior to the legislation for service-disabled veterans.
Okay.
So that's not in specifically Lot 1, service-disabled veterans aren't included in that, but there are a number of service-disabled veterans that are included either because they are already an MWBE or in Lot 2 or Lot 3. They're included fairly heavily. I believe there's 5 vendors that have come in either in Lot 2 or Lot 3 that are service-disabled veterans.
Thank you.
And just to add, remember, for service-disabled veteran businesses, they have the unique ability to, agencies have the unique ability to do a set-aside for their procurement needs with only service-disabled veteran firms. So that is unique it's a unique procurement tool for state agencies to use to retain, get goods and services from service-disabled veterans.
Anyone else? No?
Any other questions? Thank you, Mark. Next, I'd like to bring up Pierre Ulrich. Pierre is a contract manager from our OGS Design and Construction Group. As you know, over the past few years, we've had unexpected weather events such as Hurricanes Irene and Sandy and the blizzard in Buffalo. And OGS Design and Construction have created emergency contracts to deal with these situations for state agencies. So we thought it would be a good idea for Pierre to come and share some of his information with the Procurement Council. And copies of Pierre's slides are in your packet. So thank you and welcome, Pierre.
Thank you, Susan. Good morning. I'm Pierre Ulrich with Office of General Services Design Construction Group. I'm here to talk for a few minutes on our emergency construction contract program within OGS Design Construction, and I'm also providing the PowerPoint presentation and the handouts as Susan mentioned. Emergencies come in many forms. The one pictured here is from the extreme snow blizzard episode of a year ago in Erie County, which many of you might remember. We commonly refer to this event as Snowvember, which in 5 days in late November 2014, more than 7 feet of lake-effect snow fell in Buffalo and the surrounding region. OGS put its years of emergency construction management experience to good use here, as we have done across New York State for many of our client state agencies. In order to have a rapid response and agile emergency program in place, it's important to know how the laws guide and authorize our processes. A construction emergency is formally defined in Article 2, Section 9 of the Public Buildings Law. A construction emergency is damage to or a malfunction in buildings or property of the state of New York caused by an unanticipated, sudden, and unexpected occurrence that involves a pressing necessity for immediate repair, reconstruction, or maintenance in order to permit the safe continuation of a necessary public use or function or to protect the property of the state of New York or the life, health, and safety of any person. Note the emphasis on necessity, immediacy, and safety in that definition. These concepts guide us in the declaration and management of emergency projects. Currently, 23 state agencies are involved in our emergency program. Agencies interested in participating in this program in the future, it starts with a letter of interest from your agency head officer to our OGS Commissioner, Roanne DeStito, for inclusion into the program. Our emergency coordinator will then contact the interested agency with details of the process, which OGS representative to directly contact with their emergency declarations, and what next steps to expect. OGS will ask for a list of authorized individuals who will have the authority to declare an emergency on the agency's behalf. There are 3 phases of an emergency contract. They involve the declaration and verification of the emergency condition, the bidding process with contractors qualified to bid on the work, and the management of the work throughout the duration of the contract until the emergency condition is alleviated. Phase 1, emergencies may happen at night, on weekends, and/or on holidays. We have OGS staff available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year to receive emergency declarations from agencies and act instantly to begin the processes of Phase 2 and 3. Phase 2, to help expedite our response of repair and resolution, the Public Buildings Law allows us to forego the formal competitive bidding that is required on ordinary construction contracts. However, we are required to obtain at least 3 oral bids from qualified contractors who are drawn from rotational bidders lists that we maintain by region and by construction trade. Currently, we have 7 regions and 14 high-level construction trades. Once we identify a qualified low bidder, we issue a notice to proceed to that contractor so they can deploy to the site. Subsequently, the contract is forwarded to the Office of the State Comptroller for their review and approval. Once the work begins, field engineers and project personnel from OGS monitor the progress and deliver regular progress reports until the construction emergency is alleviated. This picture is of a current project we are monitoring the contractor to complete. A landslide in Yonkers caused a retaining wall to collapse, causing an 8-story housing unit to be evacuated until the 75-foot section, approximately 20-foot high stone retaining wall was restored. Now I'd like to change gears and discuss how construction vendors become a qualified emergency bidder. There are currently 264 contractors qualified to bid on emergency projects for design and construction. Contractors are advised to visit our webpage to review the requirements that we hold our emergency contractors to. They must prove their expertise and ability in their trade of interest, be capable of quickly responding within 4 hours, be fully staffed and equipped to perform the emergency work, and pass a vendor responsibility review before they can bid on our emergency contracts. As previously stated, OGS maintains rotational bidders list per region and per construction trade. Here's our New York State map broken down into 7 regions statewide, from Region 1 in Long Island all the way to Region 7 in Buffalo. Vendors will indicate their areas of interest during the review and qualification process. I know that this slide might be a little difficult to see, but this is our 14 high-level construction trades with brief descriptions of trade that the vendors will also indicate as their trade interests. The wide array of services we provide within the program range from general building construction, including concrete and carpentry, to HVAC, to electrical, to plumbing, to roofing, and down to fencing installation and rehabilitation. Design construction encourages the participation of minority and women-owned businesses, or MWBEs. OGS's MWBE Compliance Office continues to encourage the qualification and participation of MWBE contractors and vendors in our emergency contract program. This spreadsheet illustrates the need for certified MWBEs in certain trades and regions throughout the state. Our compliance office is working with Empire State Development on identifying areas where available certified MWBEs are lacking. We are also working with our agency's Division of Service Disabled Veterans Business Development on potential opportunities within our emergency program. Over the past 12 months, OGS has awarded 257 emergency contracts with a total value of over $55 million. As the events of the past 3 years alone have shown, it is critical that we have a working and constantly improving emergency response program. We are continuing to strive to improve our rapid response protocols, vendor-client agency relations, and coordination efforts. Emergencies declared and services needed range from excavation to ventilation to repairing electrical systems to roofing repairs to flood remediation to asbestos abatement. After the devastation of Superstorm Sandy in 2012, we awarded over 100 contracts. This resulted in eventual payments of over $100 million. 20% of these expenditures going to MWBE vendors. State agencies such as Office of Mental Health, Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historical Preservation, Department of Corrections, Community Supervision, SUNY Construction Fund, Division of State Police, Department of Military and Naval Affairs, and Department of Transportation received emergency response services, including but not limited to the repair of critical infrastructure elements and restoration of essential building services. There was a vast need for cleanup of flood damage, fallen trees, structural damage to buildings, fences, seawalls, and more. I mentioned the extreme snow blizzard, also known as Snowvember emergency, at the beginning of my presentation. And I'd like to come back to that topic with some numbers. We awarded 9 contracts with $800,000 in payments involving snow removal and the clearing of roofs, roads, and critical facilities of our client agencies in the region. Executive Orders 137 and 138 granted OGS the authority to award emergency contracts to contractors outside our pre-qualified bidders lists. This was in order to protect public health and safety and to repair damage to public and private properties. This also assisted in our MWBE outreach to certified firms in providing services and support during this time of need. State agencies such as Office for People with Developmental Disabilities, Department of Corrections, Community Supervision, and Division of State Police received emergency response services. Lastly, the most important thing related to this event was that no one was injured on our projects, including residents, OGS personnel, or contractor employees. That concludes my brief introduction to the OGS Emergency Contract Program. I can answer any questions you may have on agency participation or other details on the program.
You mentioned that there's an effort to increase the number of MWBEs in certain areas. So I was just looking at, I think, the slide that you highlighted in yellow, where there were the open gaps. Are there, like for example, in the chimney space, there's no companies across all regions across the state. So are there specialized can you just describe the effort that's being made in that respect, or how that's being dealt with or approached?
It's a coordinated effort with our MWBE compliance office as to reaching out to, for your example, chimney repair vendors who OGS has contracted either as a prime or subcontractor in the past, and referring them to the Empire State Development if they haven't been certified. So there's a coordination effort between our compliance office and Empire State Development. First, are they certified? If not, become certified. And if they are certified, bring them into the emergency program and providing them with what our requirements are and if they would want to participate as a prime contractor.
Just as a follow-up, have you seen feedback as to, so if there had been contractors who worked in the past, but now there are 0, have they pulled out for any reasons that you can share that you know of?
Our efforts on MWBE vendors, we actually do have a lot of MWBE potential bidders that we are currently vetting for both their qualifications and for vendor responsibility. That's where our focus is, on more participation. Did I answer your question, or?
Well, I was curious if those who have participated, you mentioned there have been some in the past and you usher them to help with the certification process. Is there anything intrinsic that they are not moving forward with or even pulling away from the program? So as opposed to the encouraging, are they making conscious choices to not participate from any feedback that you've been receiving? If they had in the past and no longer participate?
On our program or becoming certified?
I guess you can speak on your program.
On our program? We rarely have vendors dropping out of our qualified bidders list.
Okay. So
If it is, it's due to financial reasons,
okay.
but very few.
Okay.
This is a great slide deck. Would you be able to email that to the council?
Yes.
It's gonna be available on the website.
On the Procurement Council page.
Yeah, and it's also for you guys sitting out in the audience. It's available where you signed in too.
Any more questions for Pierre? Thank you, Pierre. Very
Thank you.
interesting. Let's hope we do not have another Snowvember.
I agree. Thank you.
Great. Christine?
Good morning, everyone. Each of you should have received in your packets a list of proposed preferred source definitions. The preferred source list, as you know, is located on our website. I think so. The list is on our website, and it contains a variety of services and commodities. OSC has asked us to come up with a list of definitions for each of those items to facilitate purchasing and to reduce confusion. So many of these items that are on the list were grandfathered back in June of 1995. And we are working on definitions starting with Section D, which is services, approved services. And we have a multiple, as you look at the list, you can see there's multiple categories under Section D. OGS has created some definitions for services. In this case, is under the heading of maintenance and janitorial for your consideration. We've shared these definitions for review and comment. We've considered feedback and finalized them and submitted them to the Procurement Council for your final review and consideration. So are there any questions on the definitions as submitted? Charlotte?
Under groundskeeping and lawn maintenance, the second part of the description uses the word upkeep of sidewalks, parking lots, etc. And then the examples are really about the grounds and not the sidewalks and parking lots. My concern is that the word upkeep would imply like construction type repairs.
I don't think that was the intention, but if we can suggest maybe a better word.
Could do something like keeping sidewalk, I think it has to be fleshed out, like keeping sidewalks clear, of debris and snow and leaves. I'm not sure what to do with fountains and fences and benches.
Okay. Would cleaning be a better definition in there instead of upkeep? Insert the word cleaning.
Cleaning and clearing?
Yep. So the sentence would read, also involves the cleaning and clearing of sidewalks, parking lots, equipment, fountains, fences, planters, and benches. Yes.
In the janitorial section, it says to, in the last bullet, notify managers when building needs repair. So in terms of clarification, is that a property manager, a staff manager, and who are they looking for notification in the sense of it being a landlord, if it's being a leased property from another entity? So I just wanted to see what kind of intention is that, because that looks at subcontracting and a variety of other things in terms of communication and management.
I would think it's building manager, but NYSED may want to weigh in on that.
Yes, it's typically the building manager.
So if we insert the
or
word building, would that be acceptable?
Or property manager.
Or well, I think it's building. It's not necessarily the property. It's the building.
It wouldn't be, it would be someone, it would be the customer, right? It wouldn't be a NYSED manager, it would be whoever has lent the contract.
Okay.
So however you want to describe that.
Building manager, is that acceptable? Any other questions? Yes.
Is it possible to further define, because it says maintenance and janitorial, but really it's not, it's really grounds maintenance? Is that, is what we're, you know, this is the category itself?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
That's the grouping itself, it's called maintenance and janitorial. I mean, maintenance gives the impression of it's building maintenance, it's really grounds maintenance that we're.
Okay, so you're saying add that to the heading?
Right.
Okay. That sounds reasonable. So I have 3 proposed changes. One is for the heading to say grounds, maintenance, and janitorial. One is to modify groundskeeping and lawn maintenance, the sentence that removing the word upkeep and replacing it with cleaning and clearing. And the last one is to insert the word building managers in the last bullet under janitorial. Any other discussion? May I have a motion to approve with those amended changes? I have a first by Tom. I have a second by Rashida.
Yes.
Okay. I saw a lot of hands go up. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
Just to clarify.
Yes. Yes. NYSED has a conflict of interest because these are all of their services. So by our rules and regulations, they're not allowed to vote on them. But the motion is passed by the council. Thank you so much. You will be getting updated copies, and we will be making changes on our website. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is preferred sources application status. I have no new preferred source applications to report at this time. So we'll move on to the next item, which is the schedule of meetings, Procurement Council meetings for 2016. Before you, you have 4 different dates. We have a primary date and then a secondary date in the event that we have a snowstorm or some other thing that prevents us from having our originally scheduled meeting, so we have a backup date to fall on. Last year we used it once. I'm hopeful that we don't have to use it, but we do have it just in case. So is there any discussion on the meeting, proposed meeting dates for 2016? Seeing none, may I have a vote, actually a motion to approve? Michael Hurt, motion to approve. Can I have a second? Yep, Andy Bouchard, seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, the schedule will proceed as posted. Thank you.
All right, we have now reached the moment in the meeting. It is now open council discussion. Are there any issues or questions? Nope, okay. Our next meeting is Thursday, January 14th, 2016. So as we enter the holiday season, I wish everyone a happy and safe holiday season. Thank you to Sarah, Christine, and her staff for pulling this all together. It's a lot of work every 3 months. And may I have a motion to close the meeting? Michael, second? Rashida, all in favor? Thank you.